speaking carefully. He's an accused pedophile, and nobody here at this table, nobody in the press, is the judge, the jury, or the cops in this case. But you have a story that is sourced time and time again. There is woman after woman who has spoken out and put in her face to the words. There's background information that has been reported in terms of this man being banned from a mall and calling a school and trying to pick up a girl. This is all information that is out in the public for the public to decide upon, even though the judge, the jury, and the cops have not been involved. And that's what makes this dicey when you get to other stories, because some of them look a little bit different but involve some of the same issues. We're going to turn now to the Al Franken story, where yesterday morning a radio news anchor accused the Democratic senator of forcibly kissing and groping her a decade ago. We actually got an early tip on the story that it was about to break from Roger Stone, the former campaign advisor to Donald Trump. Although he's banned from Twitter, an account connected to him posted, quote, Roger Stone says it's Al Franken's time in the barrel. Franken's next in the long list of Democrats to be accused of grabby behavior. That was posted around 1 a.m., hours before the Franken allegations broke. Incidentally, time in the barrel is the same language Stone used to reference John Podesta's leaked emails in the 2016 race before WikiLeaks released those emails. Oh, my Lord. Now to the accusation itself. Leann Tweeden says it happened in 2006, before Franken was a senator, during a rehearsal when they were both on tour overseas with the USO.
He just mashed his lips against my face, and he stuck his tongue in my mouth so fast. And all I can remember is that his lips were really wet and it was slimy. And I remember I pushed him off with my hands. And I just remember I almost punched him. So, because every time I see him now, like, my hands clench into fists, and I'm sure that's probably why. And I said, if you ever do that to me again, I'm not going to be so nice about it the second time. And I just walked out away from him, and I walked out, and I just wanted to find a bathroom, and I just wanted to rinse my mouth out.
Tweeden released this photograph yesterday showing Franken grabbing her chest while she slept on that tour. Initially, Franken released a short statement saying he remembers the rehearsal differently, adding, I send my sincerest apologies to Leann. As to the photo, it was clearly intended to be funny, but wasn't. I shouldn't have done it. In a second and longer statement, Senator Franken apologized again, writing that he respects women and that, quote, I don't know what was in my head when I took that picture, and it doesn't matter. There's no excuse. I look at it now and I feel disgusted with myself. It isn't funny. It's completely inappropriate. Tweeden said yesterday she accepts Senator Franken's apology. In his second statement, Franken said he would gladly cooperate with an ethics investigation, and that is exactly what many Democrats called for yesterday. Senator Franken's fellow Minnesota Senator, Amy Klobuchar, said this should not have happened to Leann Tweeden. I strongly condemn this behavior, and the Senate Ethics Committee must open an investigation. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand said the Ethics Committee deserves answers from Senator Franken. And Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said sexual harassment is never acceptable and must not be tolerated. I hope and expect that the Ethics Committee will fully investigate this troubling incident.
I think it's really good that Al Franken wants to step up and be investigated and answer questions, and I really look forward to hearing from him about this. The allegations are horrible, and he admits to it. I want to know what happened and why. President Trump also weighed in on Twitter last night, writing, the Al Frankenstein picture is really bad, speaks 1,000 words. Where do his hands go in pictures 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 while she sleeps? And to think that just last week he was lecturing anyone who would listen about sexual harassment and respect for women. Leslie Stahl tape? The president's comment about Leslie Stahl appears to reference a 1995 New York Magazine article about a discussion between Saturday Night Live writers where Franken suggests a joke about a scenario where Stahl is assaulted. In his book, Giant of the Senate, Franken says the extremely dark joke was never intended to air on television.
I want to talk about Trump's reaction.
Trump's reactions.
Well, here's what I think is going to be fascinating to watch. Obviously, countless women came forward with allegations against Trump before the election, before he was president. We have a different moment in time now. And I wondered, are there going to be new emboldened women, maybe with the same way Rose McGowan or Ashley Judd had some much more higher, what I would say, ability to do it because of their renownedness. And I wonder if right now women are going to start to say, you know what, I'm not afraid. I know he's the president. And it's going to be interesting if there's a denouement to these stories, and if all of a sudden he's brought back into this.
And I think there will be. I mean, because you look at the papers and look at Twitter and look at the wire feed, and it's not only the big celebrated cases about people who are famous across the country that we talk about here, but everywhere in the country on lower levels of state legislatures everywhere, this is coming out. And so I do think that, assuming there are other women who have something to say about President Trump, I think they'll come out.
And there is a change in the environment. Look at the way Donald Trump attacked his accusers when he was running for president. He hasn't yet attacked the accusers against Roy Moore, which shows that he's actually concerned about something, because this is not a man who generally holds his Twitter thumbs, if you will. So I think that coming out in this environment, the women are, if there are women to come out, just like there may be more women to come out against Al Franken. And unfortunately, I think we're in an environment by the end of this year, we may hear about at least 2 or 3 other high-powered business executives or elected officials that this is going going to break.
Gene, along those lines,
what time is it? You know,
Gene, I'd love
exactly.
to take, we were having a very delicate conversation in the first hour about all men. Just about every man I know has got to look in the mirror and at different moments of time have asked women out, or have. Where is the, and 50% of this country has had relationships in the workplace. Where's the line? How do we start to, the Harvey Weinsteins, the animals, the beasts, the pedophiles, versus misbehavior in the workplace? And you've grown up in newsrooms, so I don't
exactly.
How do we get our arms around this?
It was a different time when I started in newsrooms.
So how do we get our arms around it?
Well, Ian, I don't think it's, I don't think this is rocket science, right? There's some things that are clearly beyond the pale. You don't touch people without their consent.
Right.
Inappropriate. You don't kiss people, uninvited in that sort of way, and I don't think that was like that complicated back then. Yeah. I mean, I think we should have known.
Any physical aggression.
And there was a certain, like, I don't, in your work settings, but certainly in work settings, the newspaper I worked at before the Post and in the early days at the Post, there were men who would say things that we would now consider wildly inappropriate.
Right.
But in today's context, okay, we'd say that was not good, but we would put it in the prior context. And there's some things that the context hasn't changed, right? And so I think we can make those distinctions. We just have to get the stories out, and we have to talk about it. And it's a difficult conversation for some people, because there are like people we really love and respect, who are going to get ensnared in.
But where power dynamics get complicated too in the workplace is it doesn't always have to be touching or even a comment. It can be implied that somebody who is above you, or somebody who could perhaps help your career, says, let's go grab a drink.
Right.
And you can speak to this better than I can. Is that a woman might say to herself, you know what, maybe it's in my best interest to go have that drink, and who knows where that leads. So in other words, it's not the old time like I grabbed your butt in the office, but if someone asks you out, you might think, I am being coerced in some way, because if I don't go have that drink, I'll be shunned or I'll be passed over, I won't be part of the club.
That's abuse of power. And that's what harassment is about.
Right.
Power.
Right. So we can't just look at words and physical action.
At the same time,
it's coerciveness.
Colleagues go out and have drinks.
Well, that's what I mean. It's a very complicated thing.
It is complicated, but you know what? You kind of know when you feel if you're being set up or not. And if you are, then you take appropriate actions, whether you're a man or a woman, because let's face it, in the workplace now, you see more and more women, and that's the difference when we talk about context. If you go back 30 years ago versus today, there's many more women throughout industry that are peers with men, not necessarily the secretarial role or the odd woman who's kind of climbing up the ladder. So I think that it is on women, too, that it's okay to go have a drink with a colleague, whether it's a male or a female. And if you're uncomfortable doing it, don't do it. If you feel like you're jeopardized, most companies do have resources for you. The problem is that the U.S. government does not have a resource for young women to go to.
At the Washington Post, since I've been there, which is since dirt, we've always had glass offices.
Yeah.
We've always had see-through offices.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
No, but you know what? Actually, can I take that a step further? I'm not sure it's okay to go have drinks. I think we're at a point in time where we need to look at work as a place for professional behavior. For example, glass offices. Yeah, that's a good idea. How about leaving the office door open, especially when you're meeting with an underling? Like at the doctor's office, there's always a nurse in the room. There's a reason for that.
Mika, then go to every corporation now that is putting bars into workplaces.
Look, I know, and coffee bars and this and that, it's trying to be a social experience, and millennials have sleep pods where they end up having sex. I mean, I've literally heard about that, and it's ridiculous. But maybe we need to dial back. Maybe drinks in the evening with a male senior in a senior position who's much older than you is not a good idea. Maybe he shouldn't ask, and maybe she shouldn't go. Maybe it's lunch, maybe it's coffee, maybe it's a meeting in the office with the door open. Why do we all have to go out to dinner at night with members of the opposite sex when we're working with them?
But then that's reverse feminism. If I'm a woman and I'm in a company and there's an important meeting and I'm not going to go because I'm a woman, and that's the reality of business. I'm talking about a group
don't
of
need
people.
to ask for drinks.
But the groups, I will go into any restaurant in Manhattan tonight, and there's tables and tables of 3 women and 4 guys work together, and there's liquor on the table.
That's a problem.
But that's going to happen.
It's reality.
There's a certain totally legitimate kind of institutional and organizational bonding that takes place in successful organizations.
Offsites. Offsites.
Yeah,
people spend millions of dollars to put people to hug trees together.
Exactly.
So we got to figure this out. But the answer is it's not going to not happen.
They can hug trees, just not each other, okay? All right, still ahead on Morning Joe, this.
We have tried this before, and many of you were here. President Bush did this. He said, we're going to cut taxes for the wealthy. It's going to lead to growth. Wages are going to go up. We had the most stagnant decade of growth since the Great Depression, and it ended in a complete economic collapse. This is a canard. This economic philosophy stinks. It doesn't work, and it hammers working class people.